And welcome back, everybody, to the Quake Pro League Stage 3, Week 2, and we are locked in for our second game of the night. Cha1n taking on nosfa. Cha1n, as you touched on earlier, he looked incredible in Poland.
He
Probably
did.
the biggest, well, dark horse of the tournament outside of Base, who obviously had the impeccable run taking third. Unfortunately, he did fall short in Week 1 of Stage 3, Dan.
He did. I think from speaking to him and watching him, he's one of these players that has an amazing level of skill to him. It's more the mental game with Cha1n. And this is why doing so well in Poland was an amazing feat, but whether he then translates that into progression is entirely on his shoulders. Because speaking to him, when you were like congratulating him for being cooler, etc., he's like, it doesn't mean anything. He didn't play well. I was like, but irrespective of that's true, like you have to play well. You have to have the confidence, the skill to pull that off. Like no one, even if cooler on a bad day, will still beat 99% of players.
It's still a feat just to beat him.
Exactly right. And so he needs to believe in himself. Whether what he did in Poland is enough to do that, I don't know. But he definitely needs to believe in himself because I think he's a great player.
Yeah, I would agree so too. I think that's one of the bigger pictures. There's a lot of players that struggle with that mental confidence to really just believe that they are certainly improving and getting to that top level.
Particularly with someone like Cha1n, who's, I think he's newer to the scene. And when you're looking and playing against players like Cooler, Avex, Cypher, Tox, they've been around for like 10, 15 years. These are people that Cha1n has grown up watching and maybe idolizing. So to go toe-to-toe is often hard to, I guess, mentally adjust to, the fact that you are there, now they're equal, but you need to do it.
Yeah. Everyone's improving. Times are changing.
Exactly.
And, of course, another man that is definitely showing that he is really, really skilled in Quake is nosfa. He had an awful lot of upset games. He has proven that he can do some damage. Unfortunately for him, he didn't have the best run in Poland. It wasn't a really sort of transition of what he'd been doing online into LAN. He did fall fairly short.
Well, I think nosfa is almost the complete opposite of Cha1n in that regard. Is that he's someone who just loves to play Quake. He enjoys the competition. He's just a gamer, and he does some crazy stuff just because. It's not that he doesn't care. It's just that he takes the game for what it is. He plays it in the right way. He just plays to enjoy it, and because of that, you just see some crazy stuff coming out from him.
Yeah, that's just his playstyle.
Exactly.
Aggression, whatever he feels like is going to work in the moment. He's very confident, and that
he's emotional, and yeah, like you said, he's a gut feeling player.
Yeah. He will just play off the back of his instincts, and I think that's necessary at times. We did see a few intricacies where obviously he had slightly adapted his play style. He wasn't playing, as outrageous.
He's not a moron.
No. He knows when to use that aggression.
Yeah.
But I suppose it still just comes down
morality.
to, in this one, who is going to have the edge. And the Pixel Bands could definitely give that to these two competitors. So let's have a look and see how things have shaped up.
So we have Ruins coming out. Clutch has been pretty much standard ban since we saw Razy take Cha1n to town back in Poland. Visor versus Galena, probably the most meta picks on Ruins. I'm personally slight favour of Visor in that matchup, but if you play Galena well and you get the 3 totems up, you always got a lot of power behind you. Moving on to Vale, Cha1n versus Ranger. Again, we've seen some useful plays with Cha1n on that map with clever turret positioning. If you do get those, then Cha1n could be very, very powerful. But I think Ranger has a lot more flexibility and adaptability. And another Death Knight ban, for whatever reason there is. But this time it wasn't followed up with a Nyx. Instead, we've got all that aggression from 2 players who love to fight in Anarchy and Strogan Pikar.
Madness. Absolutely madness.
What is the Death Knight ban? Is it just like a global thing where players are like, we're just going to meme ban Death Knight on the last pick?
Well, but these are also the same bans as Game 1.
Yeah.
So
after this morning's mishap, I don't trust production.
I'm not sure.
I don't trust production.
It could be that, or it could just be everyone is unionized to exclusively ban Doom, Clutch, and DK.
Quake Pro League Players Association.
Yeah. The QPAA.
Just getting rid of those 2. Yeah, I would be surprised.
Clutch is gone. Doom's gone. Death Knight, more like Dead Knight. Right, we're ready for the game?
Mate.
Let's see where it's going to go from here. Cha1n versus nosfa. As we step in, I'm excited for this one. I feel like this is really going to be an awful lot of fighting. I think there is going to be a war on our hands here.
Yes, I hope so. I hope so. And they both like to fight.
They'll have a scrap.
Cha1n on the Galena, nosfa on the visor, both using their abilities off the bat, evening it out. There is a little bit of a split between items though. Might that come into play? nosfa has managed to bully Cha1n off because he's the one with that rocket. And he's pushing in here after hitting that rail, doing a lot of damage. Cha1n is going to stick around though. nosfa has run into him, and nosfa's also incredibly weak. Cha1n could jump in if he knows how weak nosfa is. But he doesn't.
That's ridiculous. I'm surprised no one spilt blood there off the back of that opener. Both of them being dropped incredibly low, but no one has died. There isn't going to be a major item up for quite some time for Cha1n as well, so he's going to have to get round to doing his best impression of a raccoon and just scavenging. So,
which he
really
doesn't do very well.
No, he's died.
No,
Raccoons,
as weak as nosfa was,
better.
as weak as nosfa was, he was the one that came out with position advantage. Great use of the piercing sight there, catching Cha1n off guard, who was a little bit early for that major item, and instead nosfa jumping in, hitting a couple of great rockets of rails, finishing him off. Plenty of time before Heavy's up. Cha1n is just there for some reason.
Yeah, that was a bit of a weird scuffle straight
Ooh,
after.
I thought he was going to jump into it.
Surprised he decided to re-aggress so quickly, and nosfa's already got 3 frags a minute and 40 seconds in. This actually could be a 4th as well, but he dives into a totem that will slow him down, puncturing him as he attempts to push.
And that was an important totem. I mean, it means Cha1n can sneak away, but he's nowhere near the major item. Instead, decides to just pick up some health and armor. He needs to still get that rocket, but he's taken a rocket to the face, and he has to bounce away. Uses his totem to heal back up, and the piercing sight means nosfa has a good awareness of where he can go. He can catch Cha1n here. Good position from Cha1n though.
This is not allowing any major items to go the way of Cha1n. The rotation is working out so much better for nosfa, and this time he's looking to take the firefight first. Backs off as the Megas just spawned up, and he knows the timing's perfect from him. Dives, and hopefully there should be a fight coming out here. Both of them will want to try and scrap for control of the Heavy. He scares Cha1n off, though. Cha1n was struggling to get anything done.
No, yeah, he is struggling. He is trying to get in and around the items, but nosfa doing a particularly good job at this point in time of making sure he's getting to the items early and securing the area. So Cha1n needs to try and take up some positions from distance and pick him off with rail at this point in time, because nosfa's doing a good job of securing at least the immediate area, as we can see here.
nosfa dropping down.
Once again, you can see Cha1n this time with a better position with the rail. nosfa coming in from high ground, but it doesn't really matter as Cha1n isn't able to connect with anything beyond one rail, which isn't going to do much when you're just picking up the major item because he hits it before.
There goes the nails as well, whizzing by, looking to try and puncture and deal damage against Cha1n. Forces him back. That's going to be another Mega given for free towards nosfa. Well, something needs to change.
Yeah, this is why this map is really hard if you do get suffocated out of it, because the items are so easy to control with such a manageable split between them. We can see 10 seconds now, which is plenty of time for nosfa to go in and completely isolate the area away from Cha1n. And you're right, Cha1n needs to change something.
Well, it's just such a quick rotation. From Mega to Heavy, you can be there in what, like 5 seconds if you just drop straight down?
This is a good positioning from Cha1n though. He's managed to now win himself a Mega. nosfa slightly mistiming it, and Cha1n with a better position this time. He's pushing in late. Fortunately falls down, otherwise he would have eaten a rocket.
It's the first major item we've seen go to Cha1n in quite some time. There's still more that needs to be done. It's all well and good actually getting an item, but he now needs to put it to good use. 3-0 as well, as we're about to hit the 5-minute mark. Cha1n, he has to start chipping away at this soon, and nosfa, he's just playing the quiet game, the waiting game, as he does eventually go up the bounce pad, looks to attempt to get the drop onto Cha1n here, who is just cycling his way through the Megas. He's going to concede the Heavy. Cha1n's actually finally got a good advantage for once.
He has. nosfa though regaining position, meaning he can do some good chip damage here as he hears when that Heavy was taken and the jump pad sound. Plenty of time early, and this is good positioning from nosfa as he wants to engage Cha1n here, just managing the mid ground, and he's done enough to bully him off. So once again, nosfa's already regained control.
Rockets firing out once again. It's a shame as well, because that was the opening for Cha1n, really, but he hasn't been able to do anything from it, Dan. Now he just falls back into the norm. nosfa, obviously just being able to pick him to pieces, consistently doing enough damage to stop him from being able to play confidently.
But that was better. Instead of trying to contest the item prior to the heavy that time, Cha1n took up positioning to deal that rocket to rail combo just as Cha1n was, nosfa was picking up, and he did enough to push him away from the Mega. He does need at one of these point in times to make a committal though, because nosfa's playing safe. So Cha1n needs to force the issue. He's doing more damage around the items now, which is good, but he needs to follow that up.
Ooh,
that's
nosfa.
better.
A little bit of a tag.
He's won himself the Mega. So for me now, this is the opportunity where he needs to make a move on this heavy, which he does.
Oh, that's actually quite good as well. He's warded off nosfa, he's forced him to fall back, but Cha1n, he hasn't fully committed to going instantly towards the heavy. Instead, waited around, looking to see if he could get an extra bit of damage off, back onto nosfa to give himself an advantage. Now takes heavy. nosfa destroys his totem and starts to advance out. Keep in mind, he's still the one firmly in the lead with a 3 frag advantage in Cha1n. He's not leaving himself much leeway. Lucky to not be tagged up by the rail as well there.
Yeah, so I think after this next round of items, if I was Cha1n, I think he needs to use them as a bit of a bait. nosfa's not wanting to compete now. He's quite happy to stand in and around the items and try and catch Cha1n off guard, which he does relatively well. But Cha1n does get out. And again, with the mirror matchup, there's no big stack differentials. This is why they're playing so tactful around the major items, but Cha1n is the one that's under pressure to make a move. But it's nosfa that's coming out on top every single time, and he's got positioning on this Mega, and that will be another frag. Just outmaneuvered by Cha1n. Played him around the map.
I also feel like Cha1n's showing far too much respect right now, Dan.
100%.
He needs to play a little bit more confidently, a bit more aggressive. That's what nosfa's been doing in these opportunities. That's where it's been working. There has been times where the item control's been completely flipped, but nothing has changed outside of that. Ooh, the direct rocket is going to send nosfa absolutely flying miles away, but it really won't affect things too much, as Cha1n doesn't need to overly push out. He can wait, get the Mega, and now try and go for the attack, but he is going to be knocked back, kept lifted in the air, elevated by the LG.
It's just a little bit too easy for nosfa at this point in time. He's not really putting any pressure on Cha1n. He's just standing in some pretty traditional standard positions and waiting for Cha1n to move into him. Cha1n's not forcing the issue or setting up any real traps. nosfa is being obviously very careful and calculated in what he's doing. You can see here, quite happy to give up the Mega. He knows what Cha1n's going to do. He's going to jump down, so nosfa's just protecting that low ground. If he wants to move in and fight, he can fight. This time though, Cha1n does get onto that heavy and hits 2 good rails. Can he finish him off?
Oh, big bit of punishing damage. Oh, but it's not going to matter in the end. nosfa overthrows Cha1n, burns his way through them with what? 6 stack left basically, 6 armor, 5 HP.
Why did he?
All right.
Interesting.
Bit odd.
I mean, he wanted to. What I think he wanted to do was get as much of the health as possible. So maybe wait for Cha1n to leave the area, pick up all the health bubbles, because if he picked up the one on the high ground before, Cha1n would have hurt him. But yeah, that cost him a frag. There is only 1 minute to go, so Cha1n's got a lot to do if he is going to regain this map. And that's a good start. nosfa's done so much damage.
And if it wasn't completely set in stone that nosfa was going to be taking the map opener between these two, then it is absolutely now.
Yes.
Ooh.
It was a very interesting map because it didn't feel like nosfa had to do an awful lot to win it.
No, not really. He won the first few rotations of the major items, got 2 frags, and then just played it incredibly safe for a good majority of the game.
Yeah, they both seemed to just stick to the fundamentals and didn't push each other out of each other's comfort zone. No one really went out their way to lay any traps. It's a very traditional back and forth game. So, yeah. Need to see a little bit more creativity and spark coming out from at least one of the players. Not the all-fire, all-singing, all-dancing matchup we expected.
No, not really. It was a lot more close to the chest. Very calm.
Yeah, calm and calculated, but again, only 2,000 damage apiece. Fairly even throughout. Not a lot in it. But yeah, neither one really kind of stretched any boundaries there.
No. Classic Quake for the most part. Obviously, literally just control the major items, get an advantage, and then don't lose it.
I mean, it was just the same cycle throughout. Pick up the Mega, jump down, pick up the Heavy, up the jump pad. There was no real alteration from that pattern.
No.
It was just a cycle. And because of that, each player knew exactly what the other player was going to be doing, and they just played around it. It was really, really unfortunate frag from the start for Cha1n. He did an immense amount of damage after getting caught off guard. Again, slightly too hesitant after that engagement, and nosfa sweeped up the map. And then from then on, it was pretty easy play. A couple of fairly unusual frags from that Cha1n gave away. And you can see here, just simple, held his ground, hit his shots. That was about it.
Yeah, I mean, the replays really do give it a lot of context as well. The fact that it was 7 minutes into the game and nosfa had those 3 frags that he secured 1 minute and 40 in.
Exactly.
That was it. That was the real big fight they had. From that point forward, for the next 6 minutes of gameplay, essentially it was just rotation, 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 with every major item going the way of nosfa. Once Cha1n started to find something to allow him to fight, he couldn't really take any fights. Sure, he was stacked, so if he wanted to, he could have attempted to, but nosfa didn't give him any opportunities, and it just boiled down from there.
Yeah, nosfa just played solid. I mean, Cha1n, as you said, just did the cycle. nosfa read it like a book and just moved around and outmaneuvered him.
Yeah, just countered it completely.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, not too much to really dissect with that one. It was a lot more of just nosfa playing quite standard and it working out nicely for him. So hopefully there is some adjustments that could potentially come out going forward.
And it felt that was a little bit symptomatic of the way in which we described Cha1n from the start. Just particularly off the bat, not feeling entirely self-confident in the matchup potentially, because I've definitely seen a lot more glory and spark come out from Cha1n in the past. So just want to see that throughout his play.
I think that's the problem, it's the consistency of it, which is also comes in a lot more into question now, especially based off the LAN results, right? Because if you can have such ridiculously violent highs, you're obviously also going to have these quite wild spiraling lows that we're seeing, because the consistency just doesn't seem to be there.
And I guess that's the other side of the coin, is whether those moments of glory impact your, I guess, your not anticipation, but your expectation of yourself and the pressure you put on yourself. If you go in thinking, well, this is my benchmark now, it might impact you negatively as well. If you're expecting to do better than you are prepared to do.
It could do. We'll see, though. You never know. Obviously, it is only one map out of the 3. So there is time for him to change things. There's time for him to reset. Early doors as well. Still probably finding himself, he's coming into it. Might be a little bit groggy. Wake himself up, splash some water on the face.
Yeah, Canada 4 hours behind. He should be awake now.
Gamers.
Early morning. There's a bit of a ping differential, north-south divide. Not actually sure which area of Brazil nosfa's from.
nosfa's in, yeah. Not sure.
Don't know, mate.
Not sure. We'll find out though. We'll have a word.
You're gonna just DM him.
I'll send him a little DM. Yeah. Hey mate, how's the ping?
Where are you from?
Yeah. Also, what's the address? Come on. Yeah. So we're just waiting before we continue on with this one, as Cha1n is rebooting his computer. Once he's finished doing that, we will delve back into the series and continue on with the second map. So maybe that's all he needed. Cheeky reset, straight back in.
Yeah, never know. We saw Sparty flip things around last game. It was completely a 180 on every single front. Oh, that was he's got a good PC.
Little SSD, mate.
That was a quick restart.
Little SSD.
That's a perfect example of all of his sponsors there.
There you go.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah, Singularity will be happy with that one.
Look at this aggression coming out from nosfa. Great use of the Ranger as he goes in and picks up both major items. Yes, he has nothing to work with, but is a shotgun enough for nosfa? It is not.
Ooh.
It is not.
He's died to the turret. Hashtag free brick.
Good use of the turret there. I didn't even see that until the death.
No, yeah, that was quick.
I think he dropped it as he was picking up the major item, just as a scouting turret as much as anything.
Got a couple of quick hits off with a wrench, upgraded to level 2 to fully kill him.
I would love that if that was the case.
Just full engineer.
Yeah. We're just RTS boys now.
It would be absolutely wonderful. Well, it's a great start for Cha1n. A complete change from what we saw in the opening map, and just what he might need. It could be what the Doctor has ordered going forward, as we're about to hit the minute mark. 4 rockets remain for Cha1n. He does have the lightning gun to play with as well, though, so he's not going to be completely out of action if he does fire these off as a little bit more of a scouting tool. Ooh, the drop down, looking like an assassin right now, and he will be able to assassinate his way through nosfa as he strikes him out of the server with the LG, Dan.
He does indeed. This is looking better from Cha1n as he has good control now. Catching nosfa on guard down in that rail area, but the 180 rail from nosfa getting him out.
Ooh. nosfa, done again. That's 3-0. Clean kills coming through as he's starting to stack these up fairly rapidly now. This is a good way to open up the game and a complete difference from what we had initially. When you don't have control of the major items, Cha1n's allowed to fight. He is going to have a field day with it. Turret goes down, Rocket's going to be coming out, but surely it's not going to be another turret kill!
What is going on? I don't know what just happened. That was...
trouble with turrets.
Well, what was, I don't know what the orb was from nosfa. Did you see that?
He was just throwing it, mate.
Did he orb dodge a rocket or something? I don't know what happened. He just kind of used it within a split second of
it just
launching it. Yeah, I think it might have been a mistake, if anything. Double tap. And nevertheless, 4-0 lead. 2 minutes in. This is more like the Cha1n we know and love.
Yeah, this is what we wanted to see, right? A lot tighter of an affair already, with 4 frags going the way of Cha1n. nosfa, he can come back into this. It's incredibly early into it. He's looking to try and use that aggression, but Cha1n probably not going to give him an inch. Instead, takes the Mega, sets up a turret there to get a bit more information, and he will be able to get the read off the back of that.
Yeah, and the turret up top, obviously giving the information of where nosfa is, so Cha1n has a good idea of what to do. nosfa's so damn early though. That's a problem, but he does drop down and Cha1n doesn't see him.
What?
The sneaky Brazilian.
That's cheeky. The drop down rail. Gravity doesn't affect this man.
Apparently not. This time nosfa now needs to recapitalize on his situation, has control. Very stacked. Decides not to steal the light armor. Which he probably should and could have done. Means Cha1n gets some free stack.
Up into the air, taking so much damage. Cha1n, fully confident, just swings into it and punishes by being able to just rip a hole straight through his body with that railgun. And he's not slowing down either. Willing to take quite a risky firefight here, as he definitely has an incredibly lower stack. nosfa, all juiced up off the back of the Mega, swings wide, but it's not going to work. He'll still be decimated.
I like the aggression from nosfa, stealing both major items there, but not doing enough damage in return to offset what Cha1n's new positioning on this Mega as they go in for the one on lightning gun. And the turret MVP, once again, level 2 turret has emerged. Can we make that a thing? Can we just petition Bethesda that if your turret gets a kill with level 2 turret?
Well, it just slowly levels up.
Well, yeah, and then level 3's a tank and it moves.
Oh, wow. Like a little kill streak.
Yeah.
That'd be beautiful.
Great rail by nosfa.
A little bit of poking and prodding. Unfortunately, that one's just going to clip straight into the wall, so it won't be able to do enough damage.
What Cha1n is doing very, very well at this point in time is controlling the map. He's got much better positioning. As you can see, nosfa's always contains that low ground, whereas Cha1n is manipulating that high ground, making sure he's got better angles on nosfa, and just doing so much more unreturned damage. And this time he's hitting his rails. So we can see a completely different Cha1n coming out in this map. He's being aggressive. He's making initiative. He's tracking nosfa around the map.
Yeah.
Entirely different play. You were completely right. All he needed was a restart.
Yeah. Seems to have completely reinvigorated the man. It's also the fact I feel like he just can't get bogged down as hard here. The rotations were so easy before. Obviously, nosfa continuously with the major items. It left Cha1n in a position where he felt like he couldn't take fights. Even if he did, he probably would have won them. Because right now, his aim's looking on point. His decision-making is very good. He just didn't have the confidence to go for it. Now, though, straight back into the game, looking a lot more flashy.
But that's a great drop. Did enough to completely nullify that small stack that nosfa was beginning to ramp up, meaning nosfa cannot show himself on these major items. nosfa, in return, though, needs to now try and get on the map by hitting some rails in and around these major items. At this point in time, being aggressive isn't working. Cha1n is matching up mano a mano, so he needs to change up his tact now.
6 minutes have passed
now.
The
turret! Yes!
trouble with turrets as it nearly finds another frag. Instead, it will just be the flick in mid-air there as Cha1n annihilates nosfa for the 10th time in 6 minutes.
Oh, nosfa standing still. Is that tactful?
Is he taking a timeout or is he lagged out?
I think he might be lagged out. He's still not moved.
He hasn't wandered.
Oh,
there
no,
he is.
He's just cleaning his mouse or drinking a pina colada or something. This time he's been shot. Yeah, Cha1n's done a great job of, in terms of awareness, of understanding what weaponry nosfa needs. He's caught him a number of times down on this rocket launcher area. It's a great trap, but also in and around the lightning gun as well. So just controlling this back area of the map particularly well.
Yeah. It's a complete flip.
Oh no, South American orbs have not been on form today.
It's not been working out. Although he does have the advantage when it comes down to the stack if they do want to go for an actual bit of a scrap between them both. And there isn't much time left, so that might have to be the decision that nosfa starts to make soon. He's going to have to look to initiate a lot of these fights. Cha1n.
Yeah, for the first time for quite a while, nosfa's managed to get on a couple of items. But this is... That's more what Cha1n needs to be doing, or what nosfa should have been doing before. It's just taking these longer range peeks in around the major items. nosfa was just too aggressive on the defense.
Turret's going to go down once again, coming up to 8 minutes, and there really hasn't been much to remark about from nosfa. He's only had one frag and not really given him any opportunity to attempt to fight. This could be one of them, but it's snatched away seconds before he could have got another strike off against Cha1n. He does fall, and Cha1n survives. Very little stack, which he has quickly been able to rebuild.
His orbs are so erratic.
He just froze them.
He just, yeah. I love it. So renegade. Once again, Cha1n's good positioning. He's controlled this back area so well. And we've said it a few times, but his turrets have been really, really strong. Oh yeah.
Placement's been on point. He's been able to deny. He's also got a lot of information through them just off the back of using them fairly regularly whenever they are off cooldown for the most part. nosfa, however, his active ability hasn't given him that much of an edge whatsoever.
Oh, nice by Cha1n. Can he hit another rail? He probably will die here, but is he going to hit a finishing one? No, but the 2 rails means nosfa is awfully low and would not be surprised now to put Cha1n, put some pressure onto this mega.
Oh, that's one way to stop it, though. Just continue with the aggression.
Orb into death.
Yeah, really dove in hard there and goes down as they do trade kill on each other. And there is now only 60 seconds left for what would require nosfa to get a ridiculous amount of kills. It's just not going to happen.
Oh, what a rail.
Oh.
Hasn't got the start point finish, but hits some incredible shots. nosfa, he's pretty stuffed right now, to put it politely.
Yeah, this is just not going well whatsoever.
I think Cha1n is trying to no-scope.
He's just having fun with it. Ooh. Finally, the rocket will connect and nosfa will crumble. Yeah, this is going to go 1-1 apiece. It looks like we're going to be looking for a 2-1 split. Finally, he gets some use out of the orb.
First good orb of the day. Actually, no, that's a lie. The first orb of the game was good. The rest since then have been pretty abysmal.
It's all fallen short.
It's all gone to pot. But he's had fun.
You lose.
You lose. Iceland's got a big jawline on him. He looks like John Malkovich.
Yeah.
From Hellboy.
Yeah. It is a little bit.
I'm surprised how close the actual overall pickups were, to be fair. It felt like Cha1n had a lot more control of that, but there were quite a few opportunities where nosfa was picking up the items. He was just taking a lot more damage in return.
Yeah, I mean, he was getting a lot of pokes off. He was doing damage. He just wasn't being able to finish any of those kills.
That map was much more of the pace we expect to come out from Cha1n. Kept the tempo up. When he had good control, he was pressuring nosfa a lot. It looked like a lot more comfortable on that map than the first map, just overall.
Oh yeah, I think he was playing a lot more in terms of just the aggression like himself, right?
Yeah.
Normally we see him actually be willing to take fights and know, all right, at this point I can probably capitalize, I'll take the risk. Whereas last time around he just didn't take any risks. He was so stubborn in the way he was playing that he just kept completely what was going to work.
I must have been a misclick. Like a double tap or something, because it was just an instant orb.
He just fumbled with it.
Yeah. But this was a good drop by nosfa. That was pretty much the only solid play we saw all map coming out of him. After that was a sweet rail.
Yeah.
Apart from that, we saw Cha1n controlling this side of the map particularly well. He maintained the high ground very, very well. Use of turrets was excellent, and just contained nosfa. You can see all of these frags that Cha1n's got the high ground. He's the one taking the initiative. It's what nosfa couldn't do. Another negative orb. I'm just going to call them negative orbs.
Yeah.
Would have survived longer if he unbound the ability.
It really didn't aid him too much whatsoever. It definitely came back to bite him in the bottom a little bit. Cha1n, overall, very, very confident, which is the one thing we needed to see coming out from this man, and he definitely brought it here. So they do go 1-1 apiece, leaving us for a decider in the third and final between them both, which hopefully, if both of them actually can play to their best abilities, because they've both had a good display on their maps, now they just need to bring it at the same time, and we'll get a very tight game.
Yeah, I felt this map was much more about Cha1n playing well, while the first map was just a pretty blasé. Yeah, just playing fairly. It's just a bit of a blasé map overall.
Yeah. They all just played fairly similarly on map 1, whereas this time it was a lot more of the change.
Map 1 was the amuse-bouche. That was main course dinner.
Nice. What was it? What meal?
Sunday roast, mate.
Ooh, wow. It's like a Yorkshire pud full of all the various items.
Full of tier 2 turrets.
Yeah, put the chicken in there, the turret on top. Yeah. Wow. Fantastic. The dire orb peas.
Yeah,
but they're falling out. They're all over the floor.
They're still frozen.
Yeah. Oh, the dog's eating them.
Oh,
it's a nightmare.
It is a nightmare.
Oh, God. Mum, get the Uber.
Don't make dinner, nosfa.
Right, we're ready. We're going to be jumping back in. Molten Fall seems to be a running theme of Molten being a decider right now. Let's see how this one will develop, though, and who will be left after the Ash falls.
Well, we have the speed versus the speed now. Let's see who can come out more. I expect some action coming out from both of these guys. This time with Cha1n with the more beneficial engagement off the bat, partly due to the fact that he has the rocket launcher. But he doesn't have the rail, and that's the one thing that nosfa can try to defend here, as he does hang around that curved area by the rail, but with no rockets to go with. He is playing very dangerously, and he's going to die because of it. That was slightly unnecessary from nosfa, just really greedy trying to jump onto that light armor when he really didn't need it.
It seemed like he was going over the edge there.
Yeah.
It could have been awful to start this one, but nicely enough, it's an opening pick for Cha1n within the first 60 seconds of the game, and there could be a follow-up sooner rather than later as well, as Cha1n spots out nosfa.
Yeah, nice little flick rail. Not going to do enough to delay anything, but this time that rail's important, meaning nosfa has to try and retreat from this heavy, as Cha1n is going to pick up the tempo, and he does, recognizing that it's most likely that Cha1n is going to push onto that heavy. nosfa backs off onto the mega. Smart play.
Cha1n bouncing around like a lunatic right now as he looks to get into a good position. Lovely rail as nosfa was slightly exposed, running his way back over towards the rail room. He's incredibly low, but Cha1n has to get these shots off, getting him closer and closer towards death. The same could be said for Cha1n there, with about 20 stack left as he found that frag.
Well, it was a great use of the Pika. nosfa realizing he's going to die, had no real choice just to delay the inevitable, but did an immense amount of damage, and that rail was also massively important, meaning this time Cha1n needs to try and restack, particularly because he has no injection left as well.
Cha1n been using the shot actually fairly frequently there. I think he's trying to get it off quite a lot to at least just overall build his base health throughout the course of this one. You might as well. It's definitely one way to use it. Tag onto nosfa.
Was
should be the heavy.
An interesting use of the Pika. I think he just flipped straight into a wall.
Hasn't got his drone license.
Or his orb license. Nice catch though coming out from Cha1n here. nosfa decides to push on through, but it's going to be his downfall. Doesn't do enough damage to really trouble Cha1n whatsoever. And a cleanup of the spawn. This map is slowly, or should I say quickly, getting out of hand for nosfa. As each frag that goes away, we saw last game when Base played against Sparta, you don't need a big frag lead on this map to make it count.
Burnt down, incredibly low. He does get away, it's 4-0. Nice. And Cha1n is on the hunt, willing to play fast and aggressive, living for the anarchy right now. And he is causing anarchy. Takes down nosfa once again as the Strog has been blown to bits.
Yeah, nosfa, I was going to say needs to slow it down a bit, but he just catapulted through that corridor unheard. Not hitting enough rails though, meaning nosfa doesn't get the cleanup frag, but Cha1n delaying the Mega slightly, wanted to pick up the additional health.
Nice back in fight here, willing to go head to head against nosfa, but he is going to be able to obliterate him. Luckily though, because he didn't have much stack at all, he does take down Cha1n. And he's starting to close the gap between them both. 3 frags difference.
Yes, and the difference on this map and the first map is that neither one have a particular advantage when it comes to stack or speed. They can both pressure each other, and this is why I do not expect this tempo to slow down.
Pika comes out, trying to go for the spam with the actual firepower on the turret before he smashes it into them, but he doesn't really get anything for it. Cha1n is incredibly low still though. He's got 7 seconds until the Mega spawns.
He is there in time, but he isn't going to risk it because he hears nosfa on the low ground and not being particularly stacked himself, decides to hop himself away to the other side of the map to try and regain some position advantage.
Yeah, take 5, restock, get the stack back up, and then step back into the ring. Obviously is leading currently as well, so any fights that he does lose is going to incredibly impact him negatively. Rama just not attempting to fight Pika, slaps him in the face. They're both trading damage, but it's not going to matter as nosfa has been able to buff it off by picking up the heavy.
Yeah, they're both just... Oh, nosfa just headbutts the Anarchy and comes off worse. I'm not entirely sure what just happened.
Juice it up, baby.
Now that is unlucky.
Yes.
That's not the way you want to go out at
He
all.
was about a second off of the timing he needed to pressure that Mega, and because of it just ran straight into the rocket launcher of Cha1n.
Cha1n starting to establish a bit more dominance as well with the major items, as Mega's been going his way a lot more.
Yeah, they're both trading back and forth. Neither one now is really concentrating on manipulating this in that high ground. They're just playing around the outskirts of the map. It's slowing down a little bit now as Cha1n doesn't need to pick up the pace, but the problem is every single rail hurts exponentially because of the light stacks that they have.
Pika's going to get punished, rail goes up, rocket rather. The connection onto nosfa's doing an awful lot of damage as the gigawatts come out with the LG spamming through back onto him.
That wasn't a good fight from nosfa. Cha1n had, yes, the nosfa picked up the Mega, but Cha1n had 2 health bubbles to work with and the injection. It was always going to be a lose-lose.
Yeah, it's not working out as well whatsoever for nosfa. Things are really starting to take a turn for the worst, coming up to the 7-minute mark. It's a 6 frag difference between them both, and well, the rail room's basically just been taken as Cha1n's territory, and he seems to be hunking down and holding. Instead, starting to slowly tiptoe his way back over towards heavy. And just listen out for the audio cues. He's got a good idea of where nosfa's going to be coming from as they do get back into another firefight now. Cha1n, slapped in the face, left incredibly low, forced to retreat back over by Mega. How's the opt to play it from here? very lucky to be alive. Forced down again, another rail coming out. Rail after rail, looked for the trap, the backstab to at least get distance between him and nosfa. Is he ready for the push to come around? No, he's not, as he'll now be the one suiciding.
There is enough time because of the fact that nosfa has the speed as well. He can catch the Anarchy. The Anarchy is obviously weak enough to keep the pressure on, but he needs to act fast. And that pretty much ends it for nosfa. Caught him on the jump pad. Amazing rocket off the bat.
Fair bit of damage done there. Ooh, nosfa now incredibly low. Needs to be absolutely careful, and he can't. Corner's turned by Cha1n. He is going to finish him, and it's 8-1, and there isn't too much time left whatsoever.
3 very different maps coming out in a row. But we can see how much Cha1n has progressed. And he just, yeah, he looks a completely different player. The first map, I was a little bit worried that it was more of the inconsistent Cha1n we saw from previous weeks, but this previous 2 maps, this looks like somebody who is confident in their aim, is feeling their game, once he had warmed up. Just, yeah, like, really on it.
No, yeah, he's doing very well for himself. The fights he's been taking are fairly sound. He's not been going for anything too risky. He's been playing it overall quite smart, and it is a good lead for him. He is pretty much going to 2-1 this series now as well, unless nosfa can get 8 frags in the space of 60 seconds. That would be the only outcome in which he can overthrow him.
That would be a very nosfa thing to do.
Normally, struggling. So much time is being burnt off the clock. He's not able to do much. Little jump shot from Cha1n with the rail. That is pretty much going to be good night.
Yes, sirree. Spot on from nosfa. Spot on from nosfa? No. Spot on from Cha1n, should I say. As I was just looking at nosfa's name.
nosfa wants the Mega, but instead he's just going to be set up on a date with the Coroner instead, which isn't ideal.
I see.
GG's come out. Cha1n takes it 2-1.
Ooh, looks for the extra kill as well at the end there, and we'll be able to pick it up. Punishes him and locks down the game, as he will overall win the series and get a good amount of points for it. Obviously not the full 3-0. All off the back of a map that felt like in reality could have gone completely differently. With the opener in this series, if you cast your mind back to it now based off the 2 maps we have had, where Cha1n looks a whole lot more dominant, actually played his play style, played a lot more aggressive, it is a really weird blip to start the series off.
It does feel that Cha1n isn't... It's not a good map for Cha1n, if I'm honest. I mean, I'm thinking back to Katowice, that the only game we casted against for Cha1n was Cha1n Razy, and yes, Razy had the clutch, but Cha1n never looked comfortable on Ruins. So maybe it's just a map he needs to work out what is his style on, because it didn't feel like he had a style for that map. But this map, I mean, we just saw on the scoreboard that the stacks, the items were distributed relatively evenly amongst the 2 of them. It was just Cha1n creating these situations and having better positioning overall. He outmaneuvered nosfa throughout that map, and his aim was on point from start to finish as well.
He just looked like the better opponent the entire time here on Molten to close out the series.
That was so weird from nosfa's view. And that was it, right?
Yeah.
You can see every one of these frags, he's making sure he's reading nosfa's movement. He's taking fights in choke points. And was just executing better than nosfa.
Yeah, no, it worked very well. It was a good champion to see come out from him. Obviously, the Anarchy really causing a fair bit of hell on the server. He also did go for the classic play with the injection of just getting out as much as possible. So I think he got up to 112 before the end of the game there. So
What's
that's
that,
quite
sorry?
good.
Oh, and his overall health.
Yeah.
That sounds roughly right.
It's not too bad. Extra little 12 health.
Yeah.
Put that in your pocket.
Take it to the bank.
Yeah. Check it in. That's in your account. There you go.
Thanks. I can't think of any more.
No. Well, you withdraw it. Buy some toilet roll. That's That's what you do with your injection money.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, a fantastic series closed out there as he does take it in a 2-1 fashion.
You're so strong.
It's just I just
breaking
saw
this
it
set.
fall. Sorry, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. I've taken the monitor
Put those
out.
guns away.
I know. Sorry. God, gonna be getting arrested for animal cruelty.
Animal cruelty.
Yeah, because of these sick pythons.
Oh my god.
Let's have a look at what is coming up next in the show. Of course, more games to go tonight. Don't worry. We'll
Is there really?
we'll get away as quickly as possible so you don't have to think about us before we return to the actual Quake that will be coming up tonight. Dramus taking on Sygib. Now, this one should be a fun match. If you're interested in these two players, please join us for it, as Dramus has really been increasing his stock lately. And Sygib, the same can be said. He's a player that's been climbing the ranks, as you can see, now 11th globally. He has been looking like a true contender. So I want to see where he can go from here. That's going to be Awoken, Molten, and Vale.
Yeah, two of my favourite players. I think Dramus has come on leaps and bounds. Well, he didn't really do as well as he could have done on LAN, but when he's been on the online season every week, seems to be making progression, whereas Sygib is someone who did really well in Poland, probably better than I would expect him to. So he's, again, another staple name up there. And they're quite similar to Cha1n and nosfa in the fact they just love to fight.
They do love a scrap. Hopefully that one will actually be quite an exciting series between them both. They're evenly matched, I'd say, at the moment in terms
I
of
think so.
needing to improve and having a lot on the line. A lot to go down once we get into the server. For now, though, take 5. We'll be back in with more Quake Pro League after the break.